All right, we're live here on YouTube. Welcome everybody to the Space Water Podcast, episode 13. Episode 13 here. It is now it's 5:17. It's May 17th right now, but it's about to be May 18th in less than an hour right here on the East Coast, depending where you are, wherever you are out there embedded in the matrix. Welcome to the Space Water Podcast, live every week right here on Exploring the Ka on YouTube. Also, you could check out my other YouTube channel called The Mystical Spiral. Um, yeah, I shortened it to The Mystical Spiral, but you can also see it's TMS Copper and Gemstones, TMS Copper and Gemstones, or just look up The Mystical Spiral. It's the mysticalspiralstore.com, which is our sponsor here tonight for the Space Water Podcast. Of course, our family website is themysticalspiralstore.com. You can also check out themysticalspiral.com if you're looking for the free info, and our most groundbreaking Patreon that you can find out there if you're into ancient mysteries, if you're into information about sacred copper technology, and metalworking and crystals and gemstones. If you're into ancient writings and the ancient trends and the new groundbreaking translations of these writings, if you're into astronomy and cosmology and mythologies, all of these topics, even martial arts and musical healing, so much gets covered at patreon.com/the mystical spiral. And literally for only $2 a month, you could join. And even if you joined at the higher tiers, I mean, say you spend $8 a month or $13 a month or even or higher. I mean, literally for a dinner, a price of a dinner or price of a lunch per month, you get access to some of the most groundbreaking information, wisdom. It's priceless information. And you have a whole catalog on there, over 2,000 posts you can't find anywhere else. I post almost every day on Patreon, and I would really like for more people to find that platform because I have so much on there. It's really a wealth of knowledge already on there, and that's patreon.com/the mystical spiral. Also, check out our new channel. My wife is just started her new channel for part of the mystical spiral team, and that's at Magic Micah or Magic Mika, however you want to pronounce it, right here on YouTube. That's MagickMica, Magic Micah or Magic Mika, however you'd like to pronounce it. And she's really good at making animation. She's an artist, a painter, and she also does a lot of digital art and digital work. So check out a lot of her relaxation, meditation videos, and she has her own animations that she's making up there that are really dope, as well as some beats. So check that out. That's Magic Micah right here on YouTube. Also, shout out to the Typical Skeptic podcast and all my colleagues you could find at themysticalspiral.com. Tonight we have a very interesting topic. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. You see what's going on in the chat room. Oh, welcome. Magic Mike is in the chat room. So welcome everybody tonight. People are starting to join now. Um, we're gonna go pretty deep tonight. You guys can see the title of tonight's episode, The Electron Driven Chorus of the Kabiri. Now, who are the Kabiri? And what the hell is an electron driven chorus, right? It's really crazy title, but really, I think people are going to have their minds blown when they hear some of this information. And first of all, it's taken me a pretty long time to get some of the scientific terminology to go along with this. And once you see what they're talking about in the ancient writings and how significant what they're describing is, it actually shows us where our place is in the world, how we are connected to everything, and where we are going. All the answers that most people go through in life, what they struggle with when they start going through spiritual, dilemmas, when a lot of people don't go through that. Some people live a very simple, boring life and they don't explore their spiritual side. They're scared of it, in fact. But some men, some women go through that cosmic challenge when they start to wonder where their place is in the world, right? What their mission, what's the reason for them being here, the spiritual significance of it. And many people look to the sky and wonder where we come from, where are we going, who are we? What is this soul that we have? And it's a question many of us ask. And I feel like we've lost our place because we've lost our connection to the divine. We've lost our connection to the stars, to the sun. We've lost our connection to God, to the universe, right? We've lost our place in nature. And our ancient ancestors should be given a lot more credit. Nowadays, it's we've gotten the habit of a lot of the TV shows and stuff like that, even anything more advanced than what we currently at the state of now. Oh, it must have been aliens that put it here. I mean, we can't do this. Like, but I don't think we give enough credit to the heights of knowledge and wisdom that we've obtained in the past on this planet and on our cosmic journey as humans. And we don't give our ancestors a hell of enough credit, in fact. And we've totally just waking up. What's going on? Yes. Glad you guys are here live. Yeah, I mean, we totally don't give them enough credit, our ancestors. And you can see some of the ancient knowledge of our adepts, our spiritual initiates. I'm going to start showing you guys some of the most groundbreaking translations, and it's going to be hard for a lot of the other people out there and researchers to admit it. They don't want to admit it, but I challenge anybody that wants to come up here and debate anything I'm saying. I'm very open to it. But it's taken me most of my life for the universe to start giving me some of the answers that I've been looking for 10, 20, 30 years, right? So for decades, and you don't just get the answers for something that you're looking for, you have to go to battle for it, right? There's going to be some times. So a lot of the past, I was talking about certain symbols. It's not that we were wrong. I mean, we were wrong, but you have to be wrong to go to the footwork to the truth. And it's the universe will start to give you the answers for certain things after you have to really go to war for it, actually. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're curious about something, you don't just get deep wisdom about the universe and nature just because you're curious. Uh, I was starting to get shown some things by the universe, by at certain spots. And the symbolism I started to realize is all over all the sciences. In the past, the spiritual initiates and adepts, they weren't just an adept in one science, if you want to call it a science. They were adepts in alchemy, metalworking, medical sciences, right? Uh, Plasma sciences, space sciences, right? Astronomy, astrology, right? They were all of this, and they were also like shaman and warriors, all of that all in one. This is how they became a full adept, right? And this was the Asura and the Deva tribes. This is what their origins are, right? And these are the origins of the Kabiri as well. And it not just talks about them as being ancient gods in a way, but as stars themselves. Knowledge being harnessed by specific people on the planet or tribes on the planet, and specific stars and suns sending down this knowledge, right? And the Kabiri, you could spell it Kabiri or Cabiri. This is where you even get the Kabirum or the Gibberum, right? These names are very similar. Even the cherubim, very similar to this, right? So we're going to get into what the Kabiri are. Even the place of the Kabiri was Samothrace, which was an island in Greece, which is the place of the gods, right? One of the places where light was obtained, knowledge, the sacred fires of the stars were harnessed at these sites, and different cults of ancient mysteries were all over the planet at these sites. And literally, when they're talking about the Garden of Eden, I'm going to start to show you guys that, and this is actually very groundbreaking. And that's why scholars literally have been arguing over some of the information I'm going to share with you guys for hundreds and hundreds of years. So, uh, I think that when you people see something on YouTube, they don't realize the magnitude of some of the things that they might be able to find on here. And I am one of those channels that have some of these gems. And like I said, I'm not 100% right on everything I say, but just in the last few years, out of all the years that I've been doing things, I can say that the universe has finally started to show me some things about some deep cosmic truths. Just getting my feet wet. Things that I thought I knew about 20 years ago, I was completely wrong, even 5, 10 years ago. And things have to evolve in your life, right? And as I went through more life experiences, you achieve more wisdom in life, and the universe starts to put you on your path, right? You start to see your path. And I would say that it doesn't mean that I have any answers. It doesn't mean that I'm better than anybody. It doesn't mean that my life is just perfect or it has nothing to do with that at all. I'm just saying that uh, I formed a connection to universal symbolism that we all are connected to. We're all antennas, and some of the light that I received is divine wisdom. And now it's up to me to activate that wisdom and understand it, right? And you're going to see that a lot of the symbols that they're talking about is not just plasma physics and things like this, because that's just the scientific terminology of that we call it today. But it has the deep spiritual significance of the technologies of suns and stars, right? And how they touch life on every level, right? They're literally like plasma quantum computers, every sun that has a solar system with life and planets around it, right? It's really incredible. And every star and sun are connected in a divine ocean of plasma. And it's really amazing. And from what I've been uncovering, even the Garden of Eden is going to be translated in a whole new way. You guys are going to have your minds blown. And they're talking about the entrance into the plasma waters, even the magnetosphere around our planet, right at the North Pole. And the Garden of Eden is most likely a region within our magnetosphere that has swirling vortex of information, right? Information that's literally coming not just from our sun, but from other suns and stars out there and that have gone through supernova explosions where the solar wind brings those particles and our sun merges with the solar wind from our sun and it spills over into planets like ours, right? So all of the suns and stars that are rivers of their own, rivers of plasma, right? All the electrons and photons and everything that's coming from the sun, right? That's all not just going through our solar system, but it's going into the whole celestial ocean of all solar systems. Everything is merging with each other. And in the ancient writings of ancient mystery schools all over from Hebrew to India to the ancient Thracians and Greece and Romans. I mean, all these ancient cultures, they have legends of the Kabiri. And the Kabiri also have to do with the seven stars in the Great Bear constellation, right? Which is considered of the Big Dipper. This is like the celestial mother of the North, the celestial waters of the North, right? And it's all about also streams of light coming from the sun, our sun, and other suns and stars within you know within our night sky and within that we see in the sky. Those streams of information literally coming down and being harnessed by adepts, right? And we're talking about this in, I mean, the basis of Kabbalah, the Kabbalah. This is, I mean, so in all mystery and in mysticism, it pretty much ties into this. And um, the Kabiri are seen as those seven guardians, those seven watchers, right? And they are seen as mostly have to do with the Great Bear constellation, Ursa Major, right? So Ursa Major is that great mother, those seven stars. Those are the seven rays that connect also with the Pleiades and Sirius and seven solar systems, with us being one of those solar systems. These also are the seven pillars, right? And the North Pole being one of these pillars, right? So we're going to get into this and mapping out the heavens, measuring time and the stars. This is very important to the ancients. This is something that is very important to the Vatican today and NASA and very important to us today for the same reason, right? So the cherubim also, they were solar cherubs, cherubs of the stars, solar wind. This is why they're talked about of having wings and things like this, right? So the Kabiri, right, they're in the Samothracian mysteries, and we'll get more into that, right? They were the generic name of the Kabiri were the holy fires, right? The holy fires of the night. And they were founders of the island of Samothrace in the ancient stories, right? The sacred Vulcan god, right? Now, Prometheus was one of the original Kabiri, right? The one that brought fire. And the Kabir, born of the holy Lemnos, right? This is what talks about with Pindar. He describes these Adamas, right? Which is a type of ancient man that was born in the bosom of earth, they talk about, right? And he was born of the divine fire, right? And then they talk about these seven Adams who were the seven stars or fires of the constellation, the Great Bear. Now, if you look into the Babylonians, they talk about this fallen dark race, the Adami, right? Now, they mean dark in skin and also dark in nature in the Babylonian accounts. And they were an ancient people that whose records were written in the heavens, right? And then in 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 Africa, in inner Africa, they have the name of their great ancient mother goddess is Kemba or Kebma, right? Khebma, Kebma, right? And the children of Kebma were the Kamara or Kabiri, right? The Kam means black, right? The black race, and the Kabiri and the ones of Samothrace, right? They were drinking of these sacred fountains, it's the fountain of memory, the fountain of golden memory, right? And the fountain of oblivion. So they're literally talking about the plasma waters and the magnetosphere that we have. Now, the electron-driven chorus that we're going to get into as well is incredible because the sun is sending electrons here, right? And those electrons are bringing information that helps plants grow. All life grow, sustain, evolve, dissolution of that life, rebirth of it, all of that, all of the information that it comes in the form of music as well, right? So they have what's called an electron-driven chorus in plasma physics. So the electrons that come into our magnetosphere, they, right before dawn, they a lot of it comes in, and some of it comes into the magnetosphere. I mean, into the magnetotail, and we'll get into that because that is the dragon that lays down, that gets slayed to release the seven Indras of the seven waters of Indra and all that in mythology. It's hard to explain some of this to people that don't have a background in both mythology and also cosmology and plasma physics. So I'm trying to also break it down for the average person to swallow it, right? So we have the sun sending all sorts of information in the form of plasma. And within the plasma, electricity travels. And that electricity travels and it moves, they call Birkeland currents, right? It moves like snakes through the plasma, or dolphins diving through the plasma, or snakes moving through the plasma. This is talked about in all mythology, and we just don't realize what they're talking about, right? So a lot of the information coming from the sun, electrons coming in those plasma loops, right? And those are the onks, right? Those loops coming from the sun, those coronal loops, solar prominence, it's called as well, solar flare, or a coronal mass injection. And we're getting bathed in that light right now. And it's not just coming from our sun, it's coming from other suns out there, right? We're getting other solar information from different suns. Right? It's not just because the solar wind is not just coming from our solar system. Solar wind goes interstellar, right? Like coronal mass ejection stuff that doesn't just go towards our planet. It leaves our solar system as well. That all that plasma, right? So solar wind, it's a roaring force of plasma, and that actually is what forms our magnetosphere around Earth. It's a whirling vortex of plasma that's described in the ancient mysteries as well, right? So we're going to get into that. So when some of that electrons, a lot of it bounces off our magnetic shield, right? But some of it that comes in, right, it's carrying specific information for the sun. And when it comes in, it makes what's called an electron-driven chorus in the plasma waves. And it sounds exactly like the chirping of certain birds. And birds, they feel these vibrations and they mimic these exact sounds. Also, about an hour before dawn, they start. And these sounds, the frequency of the birds chirping, and also the frequency of the electron chorus that comes from the plasma waves around Earth in the magnetosphere, they make a certain frequency that opens up the plant cells called stomata that makes plants flourish and be abundant. So the birds are part of nature. The information that the sun is sending as it enters in to Earth's magnetosphere, it makes a chorus, a music. The bird, they feel those vibrations and they mimic those sounds and start chirping those sounds. And it helps the flow of nature. It helps the plants open up and be abundant, right? And it's talked about in all mythology. We don't just realize it. Even how certain sacred stone sites are communicating with that music and harnessing that solar knowledge, that stellar knowledge. There's a very interesting myth that I've talked about. That's not myth, it's science and spiritual. It's incredible. So the Callanish stones in Scotland, there's a very ancient story that goes along with those stones that talk about how and this is a very ancient stone circle. I could bring it up for you guys, a picture of it. I've talked about it before. And in Scotland, so this is Callanish, if you guys want to see. That's Callanish right there. This is the stone circle in Callanish, right? So this is a great book if you guys want pictures of the stones by Gwendolyn Jones. She's a friend of a buddy of mine, Miles. Miles does Bases TV. Maybe I can get her on the show. Now, there's a story that goes along with the ancient stones of Callanish, and this is the Stonehenge of the North, and this is a spot where auroras show up over, like behind me, show up at Callanish. So it's a spot where obviously there's a breakthrough in and there's a hole in the magnetosphere over that spot, right? Because auroras come in. Anywhere you see auroras is spots where there's gateways where information is coming in from the sun, right? It's a stargate. Our magnetosphere is also a stargate. Right? It's a gateway for souls to travel on as well. And we're going to get into that. And it's a solar wind network. When Edgar Casey talks about Akashic records, he really means the plasma solar wind network. That's what's really going on. And this place, Kalanish, has a very ancient story how on Midsummer Night, the Shining One walks up the avenue of stones, heralded by the cuckoo's call. Now, what an incredible, incredible tale to not just describe plasma physics, but the electron-driven chorus of the sun, right? So the Shining One, there's been all these people out there, Megalithomania, Hugh Newman from Megalithomania, who's a friend of my friend, Maria Wheatley. They all tend to think they know what that means. The Shining Ones, these Anunnaki beings and this and that. No, the Shining One Anunnaki are the Asura Deva tribes. Those ones are the ones that were harnessing information. The Shining One is the sun, all right? When they're talking about in that tale, the Shining One who walks up the avenue of stones, they're talking about the sun and the sun's rays walking up the avenue of stones. And it's heralded by the cuckoo's call. All right. So the sun's rays, as it comes into the magnetosphere, it makes music that sounds just like the cuckoo's call. Right. It sounds just like the hoopoo bird, the cuckoo bird, various birds like that. There's a whole bunch of different ones. And it's the sun's rays is the Shining One walking up the avenue of stones, heralded by the sound of the electron-driven chorus coming from the plasma waves. Right? Very incredible knowledge. And they call the Asura and Devas the Shining Ones and Bright Ones because they're harnessing the knowledge of the sun and the stars. To be an Asura, that root word as in Vedic Sanskrit, it means to be, to sit, to become, or to sit on your throne and vibrate in heavenly glory, right? To sit or to be, to vibrate and sit on your throne in the sky, right? That's what as means, to become like a star, to be as a shining one, as a bright one, right? And the Asura and Devas, this is the origin of that word. The Asura and Deva both meant divine at one time because they were in harmony with each other, these tribes at one time, until they had a Vedic war over the spotted divine cow. Now, what does that mean? Well, the divine cow means the rays of the sun. The spots means the sunspots. These are where the coronal flares come from. Now, coronal mass ejections happen because of twisting magnetic field lines on the sun, where they form these loops, these Ankh loops, right? So you literally see that, and I described it in the last podcast. You see that in all symbology, right? So the electron-driven chorus is the cuckoo's call, right? It's the hoopoo bird. They have a very interesting story that goes back in Greek playwrights. Right? One of them is called Nephelakagia, right? Nephelakagia. And of course, you have that word Nephil right in there, which means of the heavens, or to fall from the heavens, or to be aborted, like a cosmic abortion from the heavens, star matter coming from the heavens, right? Nephil means to abort or to fall from, and in the way it's used in the Nephilim in Hebrew, it literally can mean or be translated as a cosmic abortion, right? Very interesting. Well, Nephelakagia is a story that comes from Greek, not the ancient, the old scholar from the later early 1900s, Arthur Bernard Cook, wrote a great series of books that I have on Zeus, right? You got all the mythology of Zeus. You got Zeus of the bright sky, and this was Arthur Bernard Cook, and Arthur Bernard Cook was a very amazing scholar. I definitely respect him. When was this one written? This is volume 2, part 1. This is volume 3. This is Zeus, god of the dark sky, earthquakes, clouds, wind, dew, rain, and meteorites. And there's Zeus of the bright sky in volume 1. I got that over here. So this is I mean, these are over 900 pages each one. This is Zeus of the bright sky. This is from Arthur Bernard Cook. So you guys can see his name, Arthur Bernard Cook. And this is from the early 1900s. It has you could find the story of Nephelakagia in there. This is from 1914. This one from Cambridge Press, 1914. So, obviously, I have one of the leather bindings of the old book, but these are the reprints that I had reprinted. I actually did photocopy one of the old books too, just so I can, um, go through it. And the story of Nephelakagia is really incredible because they have, let me just look up what the other bird is in that. So Nephelakagia has the story of the cuckoo bird, the hoopoo bird, and what was the other one? Cuckoo, and Zeus and Hera also, Zeus transformed himself into a cuckoo, and Zeus is a sun god originally. People tend to not associate Zeus with with the sun nowadays, but in with Zeus and the cuckoo and being a sun god, I mean, he definitely was a sun god. We can get into that anytime you guys want. We could do a whole story. I mean, a whole 3-hour show about that. But yeah, they basically have this story where these ancient cosmic gods that are older than Zeus and those gods were summoned to build a cosmic wall or enclosure around Earth, right? So they're basically talking about our magnetosphere, right? And they were hired to build this cosmic enclosure that encompasses all of Earth to keep out uh negative forces and to keep out famine and danger from the stars, from the sun, right? And who do they get to do this? But they hire these ancient gods from the cosmos that have to do with the woodpecker and the hoopoo bird and some other and another bird. The other bird is is slipping my mind for right now, and I didn't want to do it live on air, go skimming through all the pages, but it's really incredible. It's really incredible because that's the same all the birds that make the same sounds that the chirping makes in our magnetosphere in the electron driven chorus, right? And starlings make this sound. All birds start to mimic these sounds. They sense these vibrations. They're literally um broadcasting the music coming from the sun, the chorus coming from the sun that helps birds flourish. And oh yeah, it's I can't believe I forgot the hoopoo, the woodpecker, and the cuckoo. So the woodpecker, the cuckoo, and the hoopoo bird all make these very similar sounds, right? the electron-driven chorus does in the plasma waves. And they hire these cosmic birds, the birds of the gods. This is why they have these loops at the end of the staffs with the woodpecker sometimes on them, or the cuckoo bird, right? And it's really incredible. Yeah, the Van Allen belts is part of inside of there. I'll show you guys, right? The Allen belts is inside of the magnetosphere. It's a region, and it's the magnetic belts that are around there. But the magnetosphere is a big, huge region. You have, the magnetotail in there. You have the magnetosheath, right? It's a very dynamic region that's talked about in all the mythology and ancient writings. It's the many compartments of Gehenna in Hebrew with Sheol and all these different regions. It's the hell. It's heaven and hell in there, right? It's the many halls of Amenti and the Duat or Tuat of Egypt, right? So, and in Vedic they have the Rasa, the streams of the Saraswati rivers, that they're talking about these regions. We're mistranslating them in our times, right? And you can see the story of the cuckoo not just talked about in Kalanish, but they have it in various other tales. One of them is with the goddess Lima. Now, Lima or Lama is also in Latvia, or Baltic goddesses, Lithuanian, they have this same kind of stories, and known in Latvian as Laima, or in Lithuanian as Laime, you have one of the most powerful of the Baltic goddesses that has to do with the sun and with cosmic life energy and plasma, right? As well as powers of creation, right? They're talking about this, and of course fate, because the sun is ultimately not just the keeps the solar year and keeps time, and has to do with creation and destruction and sustenance and evolution, but it has to do with fate. It has to do with the length of life. It has to do with happiness and unhappiness. And this is what these goddesses have to do about. And Lima is about this, right? And Lima is also about wealth and poverty. This is all that the sun controls. And it all depends on Lima's pronouncement, whether known as singularity or as a triple goddess. She's this same deity, but pronounced in different forms, right? And it's the same way the sun at morning, the sun at noon, the sun at night, right? Different ways of pronouncing it. She's different goddesses of the time, different goddesses of the sun, right? And they tend to always mistake it as a goddess of the moon, but it's the moon has as just, it represents the sun at night, right? And if you look in Lithuanian and Latvian dictionaries of like the 17th and 18th centuries, they will look at her as a goddess of fate and a goddess of birth, right? But when you start to look at the context of what they're talking about, you realize that it's ultimately the sun and the branches of the sun that extend out as the tree of life, right? And this tree that they talk about is also the tree of knowledge, and it has to do with our magnetosphere and our North Pole and the poles and the poles, right? So we're going to get into that as well. But when you see Lima with the cuckoo, there's many forms that Lima takes. And this is in the Baltic, right? Thank you, Claudette. I'll get to the chat room in a minute. Yeah, birds hold a frequency. Birds, farmers have used this out in the Midwest. Bird chirping does a similar thing as classical music, right? It has a certain frequency that helps plants flourish, and it's the plant self stomata, right? Well, those bird chirping sounds, they're actually mimicking music that comes from the sun, the electrons, the music the electrons makes that's in the plasma waves, and that's coming directly from the sun. The sun is sending that. All animals and insects, plants, birds, they have a specific reason to keep the flow of nature going, And the sun is sending that information for them to do that. The sun is controlling their movement and flow, right? It's the same with us. We've lost our place. We've now started to build technology. We're not in working with the technology, like as part of the spiritual evolution of nature and the universe. Instead, we've built replication of technology, so that technology can take into place for us, so we can just sit back and relax. So instead of us being telepathic, we now use instant messaging and message everybody. So we don't have we're using a replication of what we should be working with, right? But yeah, Lima has different forms that they take, just like any other goddess or god. She can be a bear, she could be a hen, she could be a tree, she could be a menhir, which is a standing stone, like in France and different places, or she can be a water bird. These water birds or waterfowl is very important because the water birds are the plasma birds of the cosmos, the music coming from the sun. And in many, many symbologies that have to do with standing stones, they have water bird symbologies, geese, ducks, even vultures, birds that come over the waters, right? The cuckoo, the pelican, there's it goes on, right? And the cuckoo is also one of the forms of Lima. She has one of her most important incarnations is the cuckoo, and it's associated with the spring sun, right? The cuckoo forecasts a person's lifespan, their marriage, their happiness, and the cuckoo also brings joy with the sun, with the spring. And they have different people that uh especially like the peasants in the areas of the Baltic regions and different places. They'll rise up in the mornings early with the first cuckoo's call. For they say that it's lucky for the first person that hears the first cuckoo, right? And this superstition goes all throughout the region in many areas. Same with the first woodpecker call of the day, the first person who hears the woodpecker. And we have a woodpecker that lives right in the backyard here. It's really cool. Right near the oak tree. We have a really old, like 400-year-old oak tree in my backyard that's like 200 years old. That more, maybe even more. Maybe it's like 400 years old. It could be like from the 1600s. It's very, very old. And Lima, she spins and weaves the human's life, just as the cuckoo spins and weaves or sews with the golden threads that they talk about while she's perched on her golden throne. So that's the sun with the golden threads of the sun rays. And they have a story and a little mantra or hymn that goes along with Lithuanian. You can look it up in the Lithuanian Folklore Archive, volume 5, 917. It has the Lima Baltic Lithuanian um hymn to the cuckoo, and it has to do with the sun and the electron driven chorus. So it says, "Sing, O cuckoo, tell me, cuckoo, perching on a green spruce, sitting on a golden throne, herding the horses of the brothers." That's the solar horses, the solar horse, right? Weaving a silken scarf, sewing with your golden threads, counting my years. How long shall I live, O cuckoo? Really incredible. And this is talking directly about not just the oracle of the spring and the cuckoo's prophecies, but the sun bringing that information and the very electron-driven course coming from the golden threads of the sun, right? Really incredible, really amazing. And this is what the cults of the Kabiri were harnessing the music from the sun, the orchestra of the sun. And in Samothracian mysteries, they were the holy fires. They in the island of Thrace, where's where the ancient hall of the gods are, some of the sculptures that we have there rivals anything someone can do today, if not even better, right? So what's the one that Samothrace, the famous one. I forget the name of it now. But the Kabiri were born with at the holy Lemnos, right? And the Kabiri drank from these sacred memory fountains, and they were these ancient deities. And in the Egyptian temples, they were these great cosmic gods as well, the great polar gods specifically, who were the preceding powers of over these great cycles, like the 26,000 year cycle. And that has to do with ice ages and all stuff, right? And if you look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, you have uh the great lords of the cardinal points, right? These are the other Kabiri, the royal stars as well of the Persians. These were the Aldebaran, Regulus, Antares, Fomalhaut. These were the four guardian royal stars, the eyes of the night, the watchers, right? These are the Kabiri, right? So in the Kabbalah, the watchers in heaven are the counselors of the night, right? The counselors of the Most High. And Noah was even called to some in Hebrew as the great Kabir, right? And uh the the Kabiri Discori, right? Or Dioscuri, they were also a group that is esoterically, right? And they were also talked about as being the two poles, right? These are the entrance ways into the plasma war, into the celestial waters. These are the entrance into the magnetosphere. This is where souls are told to go in the ancient mysteries, and they're guided there by hymns, right? And they had two poles that were also in Greek later called Castor and Pollux, right? Those huge those brilliant stars that we see in the sky, and they also represent the sun, the Gemini, right? And they've also been called two pillars of heaven. And the Kabiri were titans that held up these pillars, but they were also the Titans were the seven great gods, not just astronomically, but cosmically, and they are also the children of the sun, but they're connected to those seven stars of the Great Bear. Now, as Titans, they were called the children of the sun in the ancient myths because of them being connected to that divine sun that they called At Alas, right? And Atlas is connected to Atlanteans or Titans or Atlantis, right? The Titans were called also Atlantes, the Atlantes, right? And Diodorus, he talks about the the Kabiri Titans being the first to manufacture iron or bring that art of manufacturing iron, and to bring the art of fire, to use fire, right? Kabiri, the Prometheus was the original Kabiric deity, right? And they weren't just the generators, cosmic generators of the seasons. They were also the gods that presided over sacred fire, and especially over volcanic energies and volcanic regions. And these Kabiri tribes that stem from the Asura and Deva tribes, they put their most sacred temples in highly volcanic regions, right? That's why you see Borobudur in Indonesia. That's right next to a line of volcanoes. I don't think people realize that. Let me show you guys. I'm gonna share screen. Look that up for you guys to see. So you guys can see here. We'll look it up. So we got Borobudur. So this is one of the most incredible temples in the world. I'm sure people have seen it before, especially if you're at my channel. A lot of really smart people here at this. Yeah, the cuckoo clock was invented as well. Yep. Right. So Well, the cuckoo clock also was invented because cuckoos, they make those holes in the trees and they come out of those holes like that. I have one in the backyard that lives in the hole in the tree. So this is a sound temple. It's a sound temple that's harnessing the music from the stars. And Sanskrit was developed to harness the cosmic music coming from the sun and other suns, and for us to anchor in that cosmic music to our physical bodies and physical, you know, lives here on Earth, to harness down our those cosmic energies to our Earth energies. And that's why they call Sanskrit the language of the gods, right? That's not just a pretty like a cool term that they literally mean this, right? It's developed. That's why they say it's Sanskrit was developed off of Shiva's cosmic drum, which ultimately is the sun, right? If you look at the sun, it looks like the face of a drum, and it's keeping the cosmic time, right? It's keeping the solar year, right? So you see these are, let me get a bird's eye. This is Borobudur, right? So when you see it from above, it's like a harmonic frequency pattern that's like frozen in place. It's really incredible. Um, really, and all those little stupas or Vimana type things with the Buddhas inside. I mean, these are incredible. These bell shapes. This is a sound temple that is also used to activate sacred fire on the planet volcanic. Now, volcanoes, they spit up new life, new earth, right? This is how the sun is sending music to the planet that generates shocks and vibrations that makes volcanoes activate. And the volcanoes spit out new earth. So when the sun tends to wipe things out, they activate volcanoes to spit out new life, new islands, new places, right? To start over. It's all in synchronicity with each other, right? It's really incredible. Welcome, Seven Moon Jen. Welcome, Claudette Malspina, Rebecca Haroldson, Magic Mika, my wifey, my beautiful, beautiful wife. Travis Coop, Jenny Medley, just waking up. Welcome all 23 of you in the chat room. Also, remind you guys, this is the Space Water Podcast, the most groundbreaking podcast where you can't find information like this anywhere else on the planet, where you get plasma physics and mythology and ancient writings and religions all in one. Really incredible. My work has totally evolved over the years, and that's because God has spoke to me. The universe has been speaking to me and showing me symbols and writings that I've been looking at for decades. I'm finally getting some of the answers, and we're just starting on our path, everybody. So when you have truth, truth will always stand for itself. So no matter how they suppress you, if anybody wants to come on and debate some of the information I'm talking about, I'm open to it, as long as it's going to be an intelligent discussion and not an argument. But yeah, when you're talking about coronal mass ejections, onks, right? This was the start of me seeing that they're talking about it in Vedic, in ancient Egyptian. It's the golden noose of the gods, and twisting magnetic fields is what sunspots form, these sunspots, right? And twisting magnetic field lines make those loops, and those plasma loops is what sends incredible amounts of cosmic light here, and we're bathing in it right now. Now, the celestial ship of the north is Ursa Major, the Big Dipper. And right now, over North America, the Big Dipper is getting bathed in cosmic auroras in light, right? Incredible. And this is the seven rays. This is the seven esoteric rays that form one big cosmic being with Sirius, with the seven sisters of the Pleiades, the seven stars of the Great Bear constellation, and the sun and Earth, right? And the Kabiri were known as the seven sisters, the seven gods of the Great Bear constellation, right? And they are very important because right now that area is getting bathed with auroras. It's being bathed with the light, and we can call upon this light to call out what our soul wants to be, right? Now, the Kabbalah, also Kabbalah, it comes from this word Kabiri as well, right? Even Noah was at one time called the Great Kabir. There was also an Indian poet called the Great Kabir as well. But, the deity of Israel was called the Great Kabir, literally, right? Vulcan, one of the greatest of all the gods of the later periods in Egypt, right? And Tubal Cain was a Kabir, and Cain represented planet Mars. Mars was one of the Kabiri as well, right? But the Hebrew word kab, K-A-B, means to roll around. Now I'm going to blow your mind with this, right? Or to enclose, or a kab, K-H-A-B, in Egyptian is to give birth to, or and Ari, Kabiri, Ari or Aru in Egyptian is the watchers or the companions or the keepers, right? So the Kabiri are the seven that gave birth and made the first circle of time that they talk about, right? That's very incredible. So they're talking about seven rivers coming from stars that helped Earth and the creation of life on Earth as we know it, and the circle of time that gets kept on Earth. And also the magnetosphere, right? That the only reason why we have life on Earth is because of our magnetosphere, right? The Kabbalah itself, the Kabbalah, it literally means the doctrine of the stars. It's the revolutions, the hidden wisdoms, the sacred powers relating to the cycles of time and the cycles of the stars, right? So the Hebrews, they talk about where the origins of the Kabbalah come from. Well, they say that God taught the Kabbalah to a select amount of soldiers, of angels, right? And that were in paradise. Now, this paradise is uh, while it may seem like mythology to some people, the paradise or the Garden of Eden was formed by these seven great stars that circled the pole. Now, this is coming right from the ancient mysteries, right from the Kabbalah and what they're talking about. So they're literally talking about that the seven great stars that circled the pole were called that Kabiri or the Kabiri or the Kab-Ari. Right now, remember, Kab means to roll around, and Ari means the watchers, the companions, the stars. So that's very interesting, right? Now, they also talk about, uh, well, all occult sciences talk about this. I mean, that the founders of the root races, you look at Madame Blavatsky and a lot of the Theosophy and Rudolf Steiner and all of this, all the root races are connected to their origins being from the North Pole or with the North Pole in some way. Because this is where the DNA, the light that brought them here, right? How they traveled here from the sun. The sun brought these beings here, right? This knowledge here, and this knowledge came through the North Pole. It comes through where the auroras come through. This is the way into the magnetosphere or out into the magnetosphere, or from out there into here, or from out here into there. That's the way. That's one of the big entrance ways is the North Pole, right? Is the pole star as well. and is the stars that surround the pole, right? And all myths, religions, gods have all come from there. Root races. It's why the cradle of man is said to come from there. Like when the pole star energizes the Earth's axis, humanity receives an upward urge or spiritual rebirth, right? And if you look at the ancient nature of the Arctic and Antarctic regions, they talk about the ancients, they talk about that this region was a region that was the region of the gods, right? The region of uh you know the Mount Meru, the mystical mountain of the gods, right? And it's the place of the judgment seat of the sun, right? And the pole star is the rock of ages, right? It's Mount Olympus. It's that's why they talk about the pole star is the rock or the Mount Olympus of the Latins, right? Which was so high that no bird could fly to the top, nor were clouds ever seen on its summit, right? This pole star is the Mount Meru of the Buddhists. It's the Mount Zion of the Hebrews, right? And there's also various stars that are talked about, suns that are talked about, and polar stars that are talked about throughout time because the pole star changes, right? And it talks about in the Bible in Isaiah about Cepheus, very ancient star that some Bulgarian doctrines say that Bulgarian, the origins of the Thracians came from Cepheus and things like that. So Cepheus is seated in the highest heaven as well, right? It's one of those sacred stars. And it was also talked about how Cepheus and in the Greek mythology, he has Mount Olympus and or the pole star for his footstool, right? And North Pole was represented as the mountain and South Pole as the pit, right? So you have the mountain of heavens and the pits of hell. It's the North and the South Pole entrances, right? And these are the way into the plasma waters, baby. And Helion was the sun at the high, and Acheron was usually translated as the hell, right? In some of it. And this goes through all the North Pole, the South Pole is the great abysses, the Apis, right? Enki is the lord of these abysses, and the North Pole also has that circular path, right? And Polaris is the pole star, and it's going to change as well eventually, right? Also, the constellation Draco's all connected to this, and I think it takes about 26,000 years to make that circle, and uh, I think Cepheus will be the North Star in the future, and Vega will be in the future as well, and then Draco will be it again once again as well, right? So they definitely switch, and Mount Meru was the home of the gods, and it's connected to Buddhism, Hinduism with Mount Kailash as well, and the Garden of Eden. And this is the spot where we're talking about being in the Duat. And it was guarded also by and these seven rays also that come through, they come through and we receive that light through specific zodiacal signs that we have, right? Or gods passing also from the pole into the North Pole up to the North Pole of the heavens, you know. and down in through the pole. And we receive these lights through auroras and all of that as well, right? I mean, they were mapping out so much times in the Vedas. I mean, one day of Brahma is like 4,322,000,000 years, right? And one night of Brahma is also another 4,322,320,000,000, 320 million, and that number 432 is a sacred number and a sacred harmonic, right? So they also have so much about the Kabiri that we could get into Samothrace. But the sun is also uh the labyrinth, and its spiral windings is also a transcription of the path through the magnetosphere from the north and the south poles of Earth, right? It's also mimicking the pathway of our brain, the pathway in our gut, right? These are all a bunch of dualities. And the Kabiri, they could be sometimes looked at as the four royal stars. They could be looked at as the seven stars, but even Venus sometimes was called a great Kabir, and it was talked about as a mother goddess, right, with seven children as stars, right? And sometimes there's four, there's one great Kabir, there's two in some tales, there's seven, right? And there's three or four in some tales, like the four Kabir, like I said, but the four were also the Janais, right? Or the spirits of the four corners or the cardinal points. And they belong to the seven constellations of that great bear. There are four communities, I mean Kabiri, who were also called the Senko Theon, the sons of Sidik. And if you look at Sidik, with sometimes who's identified with Noah as well as a just man of the scriptures, or with Melchizedek, who is a priest as well of Salem, right? They are also looked at as being identified as with Sut or Set, the star god, or with Saturn, right? And the Kabiri were also called Axerios or Axkeros, Axokersa, Cadmos, Cadmilos, and even Hermes was one of these great Kabiri and sacred people, right? And they also had Sophia, right? And Sophia was also the mother of the Kabiri in Gnostics. And each one of those letters, the O, the I, the A, right? This is wisdom of the serpent, right? This is wisdom of the knowledge coming from the sun, right? Those Naga, like I said, one of the books my first book in my book series is about the electron driven chorus, the water birds of dawn, right? And it's going to be deep, and it's going to be talking about the Birkeland currents being the Naga and all of that, and this is how things travel through the plasma waves, right? I'm just touching on the surface here, but the Kabiri Titans are the prime evil races, the Asura and Deva tribes that came here directly from stars, sent here directly from the sun, right? Directly from the sun and other stars. So, like I said, you can't get this information anywhere else but right here on the Space Water podcast. We have the most groundbreaking Patreon podcast and website. So, you guys, we can get 30% off right now. I'm going to leave it up for another 24 hours because we have some new products coming in, not just tonight, but tomorrow and all this weekend. So I'm going to keep it up for another 24 or so hours for this 30% off chance for purchases over $125. That's a huge deal because there's a lot of discounts already up. I'm making all new pendants every day and all new products up. Some of them are programmed products that are a little bit more expensive, but some of them, there's only a few that are I put like maybe like 12 or 20 products that are programmed right now, but a majority of them are not programmed. So depending on what you prefer, we have programmed and non-programmed products, and we have some of the most groundbreaking copper work that you guys can find out there. No one else is making copper tensors around gemstones like this. Only here at the Mystical Spiral. We got our own unique style. And you guys look at this. Where else can you get a gemstone copper tensor like this? Really incredible. That's natural lemon quartz wrapped with the royal cubit copper tensor coil. We also, for under $100, you can get rare opal gemstone, Ethiopian opal gemstone with the copper tensor coil wrapped around it. And this one is incredible, actually. This is the one from Diego Sanchez wants these ones from the UFC. He loves these. Look at that. And that's amazing Ethiopian opal wrapped with the copper tensor coil. Incredible. Love these pendants. We also have the regular copper coils that are not the tensor coils. Like this one is just a regular coil, the silver coated copper. I like this guy too. This is the rainbow moonstone. Really cool with the silver coated copper. You guys can pay by credit card, by PayPal, and I do custom orders as well. And we have everything you could possibly want, gemstone related and copper work related. Yeah, these are all dope. All incredible. Opal is one of my favorite. Yeah. We definitely are not living on a flat earth, so don't tell me it's flat out there. It's definitely not flat. Because, first of all, you got thousands of miles above you, thousands of miles below you, right? Where is it flat? The flat plane that you're standing on now, the dirt that you're standing on? Because don't you have look up, can't you see for thousands of miles? And down below you, you can dig for thousands of miles, 100, right? So obviously you're just it's not flat. What are you saying? We're just on a rectangular slab, a big rectangle? It can't be, right? The reason why it spins is because it's some kind of torus sphere, right? So we proved, I mean, it's not everything in space is a lie that NASA shows is a lie. I mean, they do cover things up, but we have a plasma universe and it's sentient. Isn't that interesting enough to try to then to come up with conspiracies? I definitely hope I don't get lumped into the conspiracy category because I'm not into conspiracies. I'm into like real science and real spiritual stuff too.
I can't believe I have to
Not
part
all
with this bad boy.
not all spiritual
Look
is
at
woo
this.
woo.
This is purple fluorite.
Yeah, this is purple fluorite and pyrite with the copper tensor coil wrapped around it. Really amazing gemstone right here. So unique. You can't get that anywhere else on the planet, but right here at the Mystical Spiral store. And you can't get this information anywhere else, but right here at the Space Water Podcast at Exploring the Ka. Everybody check out Magic Mika. Not only is she my manager and moderator, but she's also an amazing artist and she's my wife and the mother of my child, and she's my ray of light. Check her out right there, Magic Mika. Subscribe to her channel. She makes awesome meditation, relaxation videos. And come on, I have over 8,000 subscribers here on YouTube. You guys, at least a couple of hundred of you can subscribe tonight to her channel. and bringing you ancient wisdom. You guys can donate here in the super chat to support me. I never asked for donations or anything like that in the past, but we do need them here at the Mystical Spiral store to keep our websites up and running. I also have a free information website that's expensive to keep up. I don't have any sponsors or um I don't have any sponsors or advertisements or anything like that. So my free information website that I have up, it costs a lot of money a year to keep it up running as well. And so donations are definitely help. Or you could come to my amazing store here. We have merch as well. I don't know if you guys realize, but we got merch. We got amazing merch. Credit to my wife for making our website as well. I don't think you guys realize the amazing merch that we have. Look at this incredible merch. We got the Spiral Out t-shirts, Spiral Out sweatshirts. We even have Champion sweatshirts. Look at this. This is the back. This is the front. Spiral Out. It's got the Eye of Ra on the back. Eye of Horus. Really cool. Look at how badass that is. I have one of these too, so I know how good they are. And we also have, let's see, Spiral Out mugs. My wife has one of these. She loves these. Yeah, her channel's right there. She's in the chat room. Magic Micah, right there. She's in the chat room. I don't really need to link it. Can't you see it? She's right there. Thank you, Melinda. Um, let's see. Yeah, look at some of this. Even some mugs, t-shirts, champion sweatshirt. Really cool. Ushas, Goddess of the Dawn. These are created by both me and my wife, Mika. So you guys can get this. This is really cool canvas. Unfortunately, I can't send you gifts when you buy the merch because it's being sent out from another location. But anytime you guys order products from me, I send gift packages. So, and mention if you're part of my Patreon because I always send really amazing extra gifts. Um, the Spiral Out mug, amazing as well. Love it. So we got badass merch and so much more. You guys don't realize how much we have here. Program crystals and gemstones. Apophyllite, man. Rainbow obsidian. We got so much here. Every price range that you could possibly want to. Look at all the different types of crystals. We got any crystal you could want. Crystal skulls, palm stones, freeforms, clusters, specimens, towers, wands, copper tensors, harmonizers, pendants, even some bracelets. You guys, these last a lifetime as well. And as they oxidize and get older, they get even stronger. These are really, really high quality, heavy gauge raw mu cubit. And it comes with the labradorite palm stone package. Really cool. So guys, check me out here at the Space Water Podcast, and we'll see you next time.